people's time, and I will be brief, so I'll go ahead. And Grace, if you're able to get it. No, okay, don't worry. Anyway, okay, good evening, everybody. I am a local resident, if Charlton counts, but I'm here this evening mainly as the principal author and editor of the Survey of London's History of Woolwich. John mentioned the Survey of London is a project I won't explain in any detail that's based at Bartlett School of Architecture at University College London. And in 2012 we published a large book about the history of Woolwich and its buildings. Sadly there are no more copies in this building. They've all gone for a walk, but and the Heritage Centre is now closed. But the good news is that as of a few weeks ago, the whole thing is accessible online. So if you're interested in having a look, Googling Survey London Woolwich, you'll find it. History of just about every building in the area. I'm also a historian of housing more generally, and co-edited a book of essays titled Mobilising Housing Histories. And I mention that partly because we put a wonderful photograph of the building of Woolwich's Morris Walk estate on the cover. I'd hope to show you, but never mind. Don't worry. But yeah, and I want to start by looking aside to mobilise a bit of local housing history, mentioning, maybe counterintuitively, the Woolwich Dockyard estate as a reminder of how things used to be. That was built in the 1970s, and the local MP at the time, Christopher Mayhew, called it, the Riverside site, called it the finest possible housing site in London. And it was all council housing for ordinary local residents, 100% affordable. The council leader celebrated it at the end of the project as a, quote, a shining example of municipal enterprise. And the development also involved imaginative, adaptive reuse of historic structures. The former dry docks, which many of you will be familiar with, certainly if you enjoy fishing, and the Clock House Community Centre. Now, I'm very well aware that the world has changed a lot since the 1970s, but I just don't feel it's enough to simply accept that. It's not such a remote past that we can't try to imitate a model of something that could be, something that was, that could be, again, genuinely affordable housing combined with respect for local history. Woolwich, to get a bit more heritage-ish, is gradually but surely losing its distinctive character. Woolwich was never just any other South London suburb. It's historically a very proud town and a place of apart, separate from other South London districts. It had what great writer Ian Nairn called thumping self-centred vitality. This has been sapped from Woolwich, particularly the arsenal. I won't talk about the arsenal, but whatever the opposite of thumping self-centred vitality is, insipid, generic lifelessness, something like that. But the town, this site we're standing on, again, I had a picture of Wellington Street 10 years ago. Some of you will remember the Director General Public House, 1930s council offices. This is a great local asset, this library. Ah,
sorry.
Great, thank you.
It's a DG, Director General.
Yeah. I'll move. And I'm well aware that this is a real plus, but it has to be on this site. It had to be on this site to make way for the Tesco town, Woolwich Central, which was the national winner of the Carbuncle Cup in 2014, worst building in the country. And it was a development that Councillor Alex Grant, who chaired the planning board that approved it, conceded with very rare honesty was a mistake. He wrote, "I regret not kicking up more of a fuss about the demolition of the red brick Victorian post office that used to stand there." Next picture. There it is. And actually, as you know, the post office site is still just a void. So now we're looking at a scheme for the Spray Street area that would wipe out a whole lot more of Old Woolwich. Next one. Some good late Victorian and Edwardian buildings on Woolwich New Road. This was the former Royal Mortar Hotel. And a potentially adaptable and attractive Victorian streetscape along Plumstead Road. There are also some decent interwar public buildings on Spray Street, Labour Exchange, so on. Unaccountably, the scheme declares the place architecturally poor, uses those words. You have to wonder whether they've actually looked across to the other side of Plumstead Road. Okay, I'll just finish up by shifting a bit to a bit more local resident, a bit less historian. This proposal for this site is deficient in how much genuinely affordable, and that's what really counts. Affordable, as we all know, doesn't mean affordable. Social rent housing is only 15%, well below the council's own minimum of 24.5%. I'm not going to, other people will speak, I hope, about the immediate housing issues, but I'll just say quickly that I know very well that national policies do box in councils, but projects don't always have to happen through developers for whom profits are the priority. There are alternatives, arm's length organisations, community-led projects, community land trusts. Why can't these be explored and get some more affordable housing? I think there are other councils in London that could be looked to. And finally, why not at least wait for the results of the council's own review of the Woolwich Town Centre Master Plan supplementary planning document? It's a mouthful, but there's a study going on right now that's only a matter of weeks in terms of the timescale that is revising that. It seems very pertinent. So yeah, I just feel we should do more to avoid obliterating another part of historic Woolwich and for the sake of largely unaffordable housing.